Revelation 13, 1-2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Why does Revelation 13 begin with the beast rising out of the sea? Beloved brothers and sisters, Revelation 13 begins where Revelation 12 leaves off. The dragon has failed to destroy the woman, failed to devour the child, and failed to erase the faithful people of God. So now he changes his method. He does not appear directly. He works through an earthly power. John says, I saw a beast rise up out of the sea. This is not a random symbol. It is heaven's way of showing that Satan builds his final counterfeit system through visible institutions in human history. Revelation 13, 1-2 is therefore not merely describing a power, it is identifying it. These opening verses give the prophetic marks by which this system can be recognized. And when those marks are compared with history, they point unmistakably to the papal power. What does the sea represent in biblical prophecy? In biblical prophecy, the sea represents peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. This means the beast rises from the populated world, not from an empty land or an isolated place. It arises in the center of civilization, among established powers and dense populations. This is important because it immediately rules out a remote or newly formed power. The papal system arose in the populated territory of the old Roman world in the center of Europe, among the nations that grew out of the Roman Empire. Prophecy therefore places the rise of this beast exactly where papal Rome emerged, in the crowded political and religious world of the old empire. Why is this power described as a beast? In prophecy, a beast represents a kingdom or ruling power. Daniel 7 already established that principle. But Revelation 13 shows more than a simple political empire. This beast is a religio-political system. It combines spiritual claims with civil influence. It does not merely govern territory, it governs conscience. It does not merely administer law, it directs worship. This is why the symbol fits the papal system so closely. Papal Rome was not simply a church, nor merely a state. It was a union of religious authority and political influence. It claimed spiritual supremacy while also exercising temporal power. Prophecy therefore describes it as a beast because it functions as an institutional power in history, not merely as a private religious movement. What is the significance of the 7 heads and 10 horns? The 7 heads and 10 horns connect this beast directly to the dragon of Revelation 12 and to the Roman phase of prophecy seen in Daniel. The horns represent political power and the crowns show ruling authority. This means the beast is not detached from government. It is supported by political structures. Historically, the papal system arose out of the fragments of the Roman Empire and stood upon the support of the kingdoms that followed Rome. It inherited the world of post-imperial Europe and exercised influence over kings and nations. The horns reveal that this power does not stand alone. It operates in close relationship with civil rulers. That is exactly how papal supremacy functioned in history. Why are the names of blasphemy central to this beast? John says the beast bears names of blasphemy. In scripture, blasphemy is not merely insulting God. It is claiming divine rights that belong only to him. It includes taking to oneself powers that belong to God alone, such as the authority over sin, conscience, and worship. This is one of the clearest identifying marks of the papal system in prophecy. The issue is not personal sincerity, but institutional claims. When a human religious office places itself in the role of supreme spiritual authority over the church and over conscience, prophecy identifies that as blasphemy. The beast does not openly deny religion. It corrupts religion by placing human authority where divine authority alone should stand. Why does the beast look like a leopard, a bear, and a lion? This is one of the strongest identifying marks in the chapter. The leopard, bear, and lion come directly from Daniel 7, where they represent Greece, Medo-Persia, and Babylon. Revelation reverses the order because John is looking backward through history while Daniel was looking forward. By combining the features of all three beasts into one, Revelation shows that this power gathers into itself the characteristics of all the previous empires that opposed God's people. It inherits Babylon's pride, Medo-Persia's crushing force, Greece's speed and spread, and Rome's ruling structure. This means the sea beast is not a brand new kind of rebellion. It is the full historical concentration of the old empires in a final religious political form. That is why the papal system fits so powerfully here. It arose after pagan Rome and carried forward the legacy of opposition to God in a new religious form. What does it mean that the dragon gave this beast his power, his seat, and great authority? This statement is decisive. Revelation 13:2 says that the dragon gave the beast his power, his seat, and great authority. The dragon had already worked through pagan Rome in Revelation 12, especially in the attempt to destroy Christ at his birth. Now the same dragon transfers authority to another system. Historically, this fits the transition from pagan Rome to papal Rome. The seat of imperial authority in Rome became the center of papal authority. The power that once persecuted through the empire now persecutes through an ecclesiastical system backed by civil support. This also explains why this power, though geographically small today, commands extraordinary respect in the world. The prophecy says its influence is not merely human, it is backed by the authority the dragon gives. That is why a territory so small can carry such immense global weight. It is honored by nations, respected in diplomacy, and recognized across religious traditions because the dragon has invested it with power, seat, and great authority. Why do these identifying marks point to the papal power? When all the marks are placed together, the identity becomes clear. This power rises in the populated world of the old Roman territory. It is a beast, meaning a kingdom or system of rule. It combines religious and political power. It grows out of the Roman world, symbolized by the heads and horns. It bears blasphemous claims. It carries the features of the earlier empire of Daniel 7. It receives the seat and authority of Rome. No other system in history fits these prophetic markers as fully as the papal power. This does not condemn individual people. Prophecy is identifying a system, not attacking sincere souls. But it does mean that Revelation 13 calls us to face the truth about a religious political power that stands in the place of God's authority. Why does this matter for believers today? This matters because God did not reveal prophecy to satisfy curiosity, but to protect his people from deception. If the beast can be identified, then the faithful do not need to be confused when false worship becomes global. Revelation 13 teaches that the greatest danger is not open unbelief, but a religious system that appears Christian while replacing God's authority with human authority. Believers must therefore learn to test every claim by Scripture. The issue is not appearances, tradition, or popularity. The issue is truth. In the end, loyalty will not be measured by admiration for religion, but by obedience to God. How should God's people respond to the beast from the sea? God's people must respond with clarity and conviction. Revelation 13, 1-2 identifies the rise of a counterfeit system of worship so that the faithful will not be deceived by its splendor, its history, or its influence. The sea beast is not merely an ancient mystery, it is a prophetic reality, and once its marks are seen, the call becomes urgent. Do not surrender to a power that claims what belongs only to God. Stand with Scripture above institution, with divine authority above human tradition, and with the Lamb above every counterfeit throne. The same prophecy that exposes the beast also prepares God's people to stand against it.